Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sara Gonzales, and we are joined once again by Chad Prather.
I'm so happy to be with you guys again.
We are so happy that you're here. How was your holiday?
They were fantastic. I threw my back out rolling over.
Oh.
I didn't fall off a horse or anything else. I just rolled over.
Rolled, like in bed?
And, yeah, I was literally in bed.
Okay.
And I won't even say why I rolled over, but I rolled over in a hurry. And it was just boom, and I knew it. And I was like, I'm out.
That makes me feel better. Remember, I threw my back out picking up a pencil.
Yeah.
No.
I did. I leaned over the day this network was supposed to launch. 20 minutes beforehand. Remember, they had to take me out. Didn't they take me out in an ambulance? I think.
No.
Yeah. I leaned over on the set and I went to pick up a pencil and I could not move. And they had to delay the opening of this network.
This for me was worse than 2015 when I threw it out putting a T-shirt in the drawer.
Yeah.
You need to come up with more heroic stories.
I don't have a back problem. I tend to have a front problem. I got to deal with this because there's no strength anywhere.
No, I agree with Stu. It needs to be more of like I fought ISIS.
I know.
And I
Like a
got
little
this
wildcat in the
injury.
mountains.
All right. I think we are all in agreement here at the table that the top story of the day is just kind of going over the speech by President Trump and then the counter speech by Pelosi and Schumer and just kind of the way that that has been treated in the press. But before we get into that, I want to thank our sponsor, American Financing.
American Financing is a company that wanted to do business with me in 2007. And you remember those days. And I didn't believe in any finance companies. And I turned them down. And I said, no, I don't want to talk about mortgages with anybody. And they said, no, we're not like everybody else. We agree with you that it's going to collapse. Nobody agreed with me at the time. And I said, well, we'll see after the collapse how you're doing. They called me up about a month or two after the collapse, and they said, by the way, we're fine. And I took them on as a client then because they were not doing what the banks are doing. I saw something today from The Hustle, and it was an ad for millennials on this great new service from JP Morgan where you could put your 401k into and use that as your down payment for your house. And it's crazy what's happening. They don't do this. They work for you. They don't give you any little tricks. They're not going to get you into a mortgage that's going to get you into trouble. Salary-based. They don't work for the banks, and that makes all the difference. And if you're looking to refi or buy a new home, buy your next home, these are the people I would trust.
It's AmericanFinancing.net, and you can call them at 800-906-2440 for those of you who still like to pick up the phone and dial different phone numbers. Most people don't. So if you don't, AmericanFinancing.net. All right. So the speech by President Trump, I think, we had this conversation yesterday, and we were talking about the optics of it and who was going to come out looking like the loser, who was going to come out looking like the winner. Stu, you said yesterday you thought that Trump was going to look like the loser in the optics war. Do you still feel that way today?
I kind of feel like I meant that as a general sort of like this whole debate that's going on right now. I mean, we actually right before we came, a little while before we came on the air, there was supposed to be a meeting between Trump and Chuck and Nancy, and Trump walked out of it apparently and said it was a complete waste of time.
Waste of time, yeah.
So I mean, this is a dance right now. I don't know that anything gets done out of it. I think long-term, the Democrats have a real incentive to just not do anything because the worse this gets, the more they're going to be able to blame it on Trump. And also, I would also add, it's easy to blame it on Trump because Trump said it was his fault on camera.
Literally verbatim, that's what he said.
It's mine, I'll take all the blame for it.
For the most part, the employees that he's talking about, that Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are talking about, are Democrats. The ones who generally are in the federal workers union that are working for the government, generally speaking, not universally, obviously, are Democrats. So he's not really hurting himself. The Democrats are the ones who are going to be hurt the hardest, and they're the ones who are going to be screaming at Chuck and Nancy, do something.
It's true. I mean, even if, though, this came through, right, and let's say they traded DACA for $5.7 billion and that deal came through, that's still a much worse deal than just a year ago, right? I mean, there was an offer on the table for $30 billion for DACA just 1 year ago. So this has already gone in the wrong direction if this is something you care about, which it is. I mean, it is a serious problem, and I think that was the the thing that came through in the speech more than anything else is that this is not a joke. It's not a stupid thing where, oh, Donald Trump and he's mean and he doesn't like Hispanics. There is a real problem here. It's something we should take seriously. And it's something that we really do need to solve. And just because you don't like the R or the D next to the person's name should not mean that we can't get this thing fixed. It shouldn't be this difficult.
And if it is meaning about, that we have to rush to a deal because people aren't getting paid, that's absolutely ridiculous. You could go to a bank and say, look, I work for the federal government. This is my paycheck. Here are my pay stubs. I'm going to get paid. I need that amount until it's over.
I know multiple credit unions are actually doing that.
They'll do that. So this hype about, well, they're not getting paid. You can get paid because you don't have to. The loan process is really easy. You know that story in the news? I'm one of them. I need help.
Yeah. But let's go back because, and both of you bring this point up, and it's something to remember. The left needs victims. They need victims because whether it's the victim of the person who's trapped on the other side of the wall and can't get an amnesty status, or it's the person who's out of work and now you got to get the money back, they need victims. And so there's going to be that feigned outrage and this shock and, oh my gosh, people are losing. And it is a serious situation, but it's almost becoming a satirical serious situation. People are too easy making jokes of it rather than looking at it seriously. Schumer comes out and says, no more memes. Well, what do? They get on TV last night in a rebuttal, and they look the epitome of a meme. I mean, they look like the parents on that 70s show when they're making this rebuttal. Look at these guys. They look like characters on Men in Black. These are aliens we're looking at here, and I don't mean the illegal kind. I mean from outer space. Look at him. He looks like a character on The Simpsons. I could draw The Simpsons. I could draw him right now.
And can we look at this? Can we look at the other picture that we have? That one of our
Pelosi.
Wonderful graphic artists did
always
of them.
looks insane.
Yeah,
It's
that's
perfect.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect.
really
That's
creepy.
them.
But see what we're doing? You see right there. We have to make fun of a very serious situation. Hence the age of the internet, social media, these things. And so what do we believe?
I don't think that's a serious situation. I don't think anybody watched Pelosi and Schumer, and many didn't watch even Trump.
Well, let me say, now they got a ratings of 25, and then according to Hollywood Insider, 29 for Pelosi and Schumer.
Really?
So according to that, that's a lot of households that are watching those news networks that were carrying that.
To make fun of them.
Yeah,
I
will say that was a bipartisan consensus.
Well, here's the thing. So I think you have conservatives, the diehards on the right, who are watching Trump. Punch them out, Donald. Mm-hmm. And then so they had a huge bump because everybody wanted to watch the rebuttal. And then, you see the picture of them, and they've got however many, half a dozen American flags behind them, trying to pretend patriotic while they're saying, no, we don't want to protect Americans. In fact, as Warren said, we're going to take the payroll that I'm not making right now, I'm going to donate it to refugees. I don't think that this really is fooling anybody about their patriotism right now.
I have to tell you, that hallway, didn't it look like an old, creepy Soviet hallway where the bathroom was down and to the left? I mean, it wasn't a stately thing at all. It was weird.
Can I also just say, when we started the show, we had a lot of viewers talking about how we needed a bigger table and this table was too small. I don't want to hear anyone ever say that again. Look at the podium that they're sharing, this mini podium. And there's two of them. Yes. It was so bizarre.
Someone started a GoFundMe to get them a second podium. Because really, why do they
share one podium in one tiny hallway?
And in the Capitol building, with all of its majesty, why you're in the janitor's hallway is beyond me. It's just so weird.
I wonder, I look at those scenes and those setups, and I'm like, what is the psychology behind this? And I don't know if they're trying to show solidarity and unity and make one person.
I think.
With themselves.
I think they were trying to thumb wrestle on who was going to give the speech. I mean, I think those two were there because of ego. You're not doing it. I'm doing it.
You're not doing it. I'm doing it. As a teenager, I came home after curfew many times with beer on my breath to those two faces right there, standing in a darkened foyer, waiting on me to get home. That's the faces I saw, but they weren't smiling.
Glenn, what was your take on Trump's speech?
My take on Trump's speech, and I want to let me just say, I think the big story of the day is about these speeches, but I think it's about the discrediting of the media and of the institution of government entirely. If you listen to Donald Trump, he said all of the right words. I mean, that was the most presidential I've seen him. He did a great job for Donald Trump. And it's like, it's other people are like this too. Some people just cannot read to a teleprompter. So it's not a problem. It's not his fault. A lot of people, most people can't read a teleprompter. For the life of me, get him off the teleprompter. Yeah. But he needed it to be presidential in that setting. He couldn't deliver it. But what his words were exactly right. Exactly right. He just can't sell it. That's just a personal, thing that many presidents have. When Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer come, their words, they're talking about lies, and they are weaving some of the biggest lies out there. The words of Donald Trump, if you read them, he wins. If you read what he said, this is a humanitarian crisis. It's a humanitarian crisis on both sides. This is an economic crisis. This is a law enforcement crisis. This is a crisis on all levels. He said the heart and the soul, that this is a crisis. And he's right. For them to come on and say, this is too expensive and ineffective, and while all of the media was debunking, the heroin, the opioids don't come over the border. No, that's not what he said. He said suicide rates and overdoses and heroin, which most of that comes across the border. He wasn't talking about opioids. They were working overtime to discredit him, and they let Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, who voted for a wall in 2006, and then offered the president $30 billion to build the wall if he would give him DACA. Well, wait a minute. So was it a ripoff and absolutely ineffective?
And immoral?
And immoral at $30 billion? But now you're only thinking about he's only asking for $5? And now it's a problem? No, that doesn't make sense. The real story here, I think, is the press. Because they are solely a machine of the Democratic Party.
Yeah. And don't forget, by the way, if you're going to use Sandy Ocasio-Cortez, she's Sandy from high school.
Yeah.
If you remember her logic with Anderson Cooper, you don't have to be factually correct.
Right.
You have to be morally correct.
Right.
That's all.
But they're not morally correct.
They're not at all.
Well, speaking of that, she gave a great example of how she still believes that when she was on with Rachel Maddow, I believe, last night to give her own response to President Trump. And here's a little bit of what she had to say.
No one should feel unsafe in the United States of America. And that includes our amazing and beautiful and productive immigrant community. And moreover, the one thing that the president has not talked about is the fact that he has systematically engaged in the violation of international human rights human rights on our border. He has separated children from their families. He talked about what happened the day after Christmas. On the day of Christmas, a child died in ICE custody. The president should not be asking for more money to an agency that has systematically violated human rights. The president should be really defending why we are funding such an agency at all. Because right now, what we are seeing is death. Right now, what we are seeing is the violation of human rights. These children and these families are being held in what are called hieleras, which are basically freezing boxes that no person should be maintained in.
Yeah, I was in a freezing box once when I was. What the hell is she talking about? First of all, let me just say, and if you're only listening to this as a podcast, you have to go look. She's turning into one of those sad clown paintings with the big eyes,
Yes.
I don't know what's happening to her, but her eyes are getting bigger and her thinking is getting smaller.
She's acting like what she thinks a congressperson does. Like she looks, I mean, that honestly just looked like...
Very impassioned.
It looked, very impassioned, like overacting.
Yes.
It looks very much like it is Sandy back in high school on a debate stage. Like it's debate club, and it's her job to argue this point today. And so she's written all this stuff down, and she's performing it, but it's not real. She's really not good at this.
Well, when she's saying that, that somebody died in custody with ICE, well, that's horrible.
Well, it's also not factually correct.
Unless you know the story.
Right.
Then the ICE ICE was the only chance that child had.
Yeah.
When she says that, they violated basic human rights. Where were you on Barack Obama? It's better today than it was under Barack Obama. There's just no moral high ground here, and it's sickening.
I want her to come to Texas, and let's go down and watch as drug mules cross Grandma's front yard, bringing in shipments of drugs and the danger. Let's go visit with the ICE agents. We can dance all across the border and just, hey, if you want to.
How about the sex trafficking that's
Exactly.
going on? I mean, the violence against women. If you go and you're a woman, or God forbid, just a girl, and you are attached to a mule, is it 2 out of 3 are raped on the way?
1 out of 3. Yeah,
One
and
out of
Trump
3.
mentioned that in the speech. Yeah.
I mean, this is horrendous.
Yeah. It's
horrendous.
That's much worse than it is if you're just a woman in America going to college, which they're freaking out about the rape culture. This is the rape culture.
Yes.
And you're encouraging it.
And wouldn't, just really quickly before we go to break, wouldn't it make all of these things, if we're taking her at face value that she's telling the truth, wouldn't a wall make all of these things better?
Yes.
Like, how would people be dying trying to get across the border? How would all of these things be happening if we had a wall?
Yeah.
Seems like that would make it a little bit
The wall
better.
says no.
The wall
it says no. Don't come.
Yeah, they won't try. They can't try to cross.
Hey, the number one murder rate in Central America, Honduras. Where are they coming? Honduras. The caravans are coming through. You know how they're dying? They're killing each other with machetes because everybody down there is carrying one. Do you want that in California? Do you want it in Texas, Arizona, New Mexico? Of course you don't. And she's a bouncing ball for the left. I want her to fade away into obscurity. I almost wish that we could not pay her any attention because what the left has learned is that if they use Trump's tactic of saying, hey, look at this, look at this, look at this, and I'm over here doing stuff, that's what they're doing with her.
Oh, I think she's great because she just makes them look
Too
like
much
idiots.
fun.
I
much fun to ignore.
If we had Tina Fey on our side, it would be, she would be, she is,
a great point.
she's an easy Sarah Palin.
That's a great point. I'll say it back in a minute.
Exactly.
I would love to see that.
We have got to dress you up as Sandy or Terry.
Perfect.
We need a campfire here, but
Brutal in here today.
yeah.
Perfect.
But other than that, I want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor, before we get into the rest of our show. So I know Glenn You just passed an anniversary or year-long anniversary of being on Relief Factor.
Yeah.
We all appreciate it because you're not such a jerk. Because you're not in pain.
Well, that really hurts. That hurts. That hurts a lot.
But in a different way.
I'm. You guys are still a pain in my. Relief Factor. I started taking it last Christmas time, really at the behest of my wife because she was like, try it, and so I did, and I didn't want to try it because I don't believe in natural herbal. That's crap.
Such a man.
It's just crap.
Such a man.
Dow Chemical, if they make it, it's going to work. It'll kill me in the end, but it'll work. So I started taking Relief Factor, and they say try it for 3 weeks. If it doesn't do anything, then stop taking it. Well, it did, and it changed me. It changed my life. I have good days and bad days, but my good days and my bad days are nowhere close to my best day before Relief Factor. So try it. Try it for 3 weeks. If it doesn't work, you're out $20. If it does work, you get your life back.
And I think it's like 70% of the people who try it buy it again. So those are pretty good odds that it could work for you.
Don't let us talk you into it. Just try it for 3 weeks.
$19.95. So relieffactor.com. All right, Chad, you wanted to share a story about fake news.
I think it's interesting. I mean, you have statistics, damn statistics, and then you got, as you get the point, you got lies, damn lies, and statistics. And but I like the statistics because today everything is statistics. And of course, if you can't find any evidence on why Trump won using Russian collusion, well, let's go to Facebook. And apparently, elderly conservatives shared more Facebook fakery in 2016, according to an AP report from a Princeton poll. So what they're saying is basically, the folks over 65 years of age, if they're heavily bipartisan, ultra-conservative, or I say heavily partisan and ultra-conservative, they're the ones who are reading these headlines and saying, yep, makes sense to me, we're just going to share it.
Did they show the other side, the ultra-liberal partisan?
We don't talk about things like that,
Right.
Glenn. That's not part of it.
To me, this makes sense. If you're 65 or older, you grew up in an era where Walter Cronkite was credible. And you know that things aren't credible, but you've got trusted sources and there are people that you thought that this was from them. There was a lot of fake stuff out there that you thought was from ABC or you thought was from Fox News, and it wasn't.
Right. And if you look at that graph, according to the report, it says that folks over 65 were 7 times more likely to share a fake news story than 18 to 29-year-olds. Well, first of all, 18 to 29-year-olds generally are not on Facebook these days. That is not a demographic that is using the Facebook as a social media platform. They're on other things.
Did you say the Facebook?
The Facebook, the book of face.
The Facebook.
So, but that's the thing. The bigger issue that I have is, one, we all know that the folks, the powers that be, Big Brother's watching, determining what is fake news. They're determining what is a fake news source, what is a blog site that is giving false information, and therefore they deem it unworthy, and therefore you can't do it. You can go out there and cherry pick all kind of sources and things from both sides of the political spectrum and then determine, okay, I don't like that, so let's move it over there. It's fake. But I know that, to your point, Glenn, I think that you have that generation who's saying, I need somebody to speak for me. This makes sense. This is how I'm going to throw my punch, and it's my only voice. I'm going to share this because, by God, I believe in Donald Trump, and I believe in conservative values in America, and we're going to fight to make America great again, and we're going to share this stuff. They're not reading the article.
Right.
They're reading the headline.
Yeah.
Well, that's all American.
Yeah.
All Americans spend about 7 seconds reading an article. You can't read anything in 7 seconds.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But they'll share it like they know exactly what it says.
Yeah, because the headline, and usually the headlines are wrong, but the headline speaks to what they believe already, and so they just share it.
Yeah. I wonder, too, in that particular study, and I don't want this to sound ageist, so please forgive me. No, but so maybe because this generation didn't grow up with all, websites in particular, that they don't think to look at maybe the website, the source that it's coming from.
Yeah, I honestly think
They just click on a
there's
link.
something to that, where, things look legitimate.
Right.
There used to be, when people would pass, mimeograph stuff, and you'd be like, okay, I'm not reading that. Yeah. And it might have been true, but it didn't look right.
Right. Yeah.
Now things can look right. And that generation, I'm close to that generation. That generation expected it to look a certain way, be delivered a certain way, and you could trust it because it looked that way. Now you could be 12 and make something look amazing.
Yeah.
Here, read this article in the paper. Of course, it's the truth.
Right.
Yeah. It's reporting. There's no object. I mean, it's 100% objective.
If you watch the movie So I Married an Axe Murderer, which is one of my favorites,
It's a good one.
it was in the paper. Remember the Garth Brooks juice diet? It was in the paper.
The only one in America who's making these references is you.
Yeah, I know.
So We Married an Axe Murderer lives on because of Glenn Beck.
Yes, I love that.
This is why people watch the
Yes,
show.
true.
obviously.
I love that movie.
I think Jonah Goldberg loves that
Back
movie
in a
too.
minute.
You and Jonah Goldberg are the only two people I've ever seen make references to So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Design.
Chad, are you still on tour? Last time you were here,
I
you
never
were on
stop.
tour. Never stop traveling.
Energizer.
I'm sure your wife loves it.
I know. She gets a break. And let me tell you, we're like two ships passing in the night, but woe is the collision. It's amazing. It throws
Here we
my back
go.
out.
All right.
You know, Relief Factor, people. Yes, watchchad.com. We're heading into the great state of California tomorrow.
Right.
I know you. They love me there. Hollywood eats me up. I go to West Hollywood wearing this. It's like a revival of Village People. I don't have to pay for my own drinks. It's beautiful. No, seriously, we're going to be in Visalia, California, Bakersfield, California. We're going to be in Redding, California, and then we're coming home. Then we'll head to Grand Junction, Colorado. A lot of the first half of the year is already planned out. We're on the road.
I tell you go to California, they're so starving for anybody who thinks like you.
They are.
Oh, they are. It's great.
Those shows sell out so fast, and
They're
people
so
are like,
great.
yes!
Tell everyone where they can find more information.
WatchChad.com or ChadPrather.com.
Yeah, watchchad.com, ChadPrather.com. Also, check out Blaze TV if you have not yet already. You can use promo code NEWS to get $10 off of your year-long subscription. I honestly don't know what you're waiting for because we've got all the big names. I don't know. Sorry, you're not in the club.
I don't,
Maybe you should be. I don't know.
Look, you guys charge such a high
guys
admission
know
that I'm like counting money.